Can you give us some examples of what it might look like to create friction versus not create friction?
Sure. Anytime you're responding emotionally to misbehavior, like if there's some disrespect or talking back from a student, if you respond to that student, answer back to that student, or you admonish the student or lecture the student or feel yourself getting sort of that kind of emotional wanting to defend yourself and question that student and describe every reason why they're wrong and what they're doing. Anytime you do anything like that, you're creating you're creating friction, and then you're increasing the chances of having more of that behavior.
Right. So we're making the problem probably worse instead of actually better.
Every single time you're making the problem worse. And this is something these kids have been on the receiving end of this sort of thing for their entire school career. And so you have to offer something different.
Okay. And I'm sure there's lots of teachers thinking right now, well, some of those things are obvious. Responding emotionally, that's never going to help, right? But it's like, okay, well, if I'm not going to get on them, what am I supposed to do instead? So I'm excited to kind of dive into this with some specifics. So let's start with the easy one. I use that facetiously. What about students that are being disrespectful, either to us or to others?
Right. So you always have to define in the beginning of the school year, again, before you even get to know your students, you have to define what disrespect is and what it looks like. And you want to define it in such a way that your students know exactly where that line is. And so that's has to be a rule as part of your classroom management plan. Disrespect or respect your teacher and your classmates, and then what exactly that looks like. And so you're clear about when that rule is broken, and the student is clear about when that rule is broken. Now, even if you are really clear in defining that, there are students who don't always understand what disrespect is, so they'll uh, respond in a way to you that's clearly disrespectful, but they don't see it that way, which is really irrelevant because you're going to teach them by following your plan. You're going to simply state you're being disrespectful and you have a warning for breaking rule number 2, rule number 3, whatever it is. And so the key is to not respond personally, but allow your classroom management plan to do its job. Be clear about this is what it is. And it's not a debate on between the two of you on what disrespect looks like. You're the adult leader of the classroom and you know what it is. And so you define it as such, say that it is, and then you follow through with a consequence. And that's it. And in the meantime, when you refuse to create friction with that student, the idea is that student isn't going to seethe in anger at you or to blame you, but rather is going to start reflecting on their own misbehavior. And when they do that, that's when change happens.